Welcome back, and to our first story this afternoon. Even though the outlook for Ghana remains favorable, with growth expected to increase from 6.3% in 2018 to 7% in 2019 and will average around 5% over the next few years, our debt is set to be rising very fast, pushing the country into highly distressed level. Ghana's debt is expected to increase to 63% by the end of 2019, something investors are worried about. But with the government set to also issue another Eurobond in January 2020, we explore some teething issues in our debt in this Philip Namfori's report.
The size of an economy's public debt always raises debate among citizens. Issues of stock debates don't only relate to the size, but which governments increase the debt the most and the best way to reduce it. In a recent interview with Bloomberg, Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva of the International Monetary Fund disclosed that the fund is worried about rising debt in Africa, with about 40% of countries on the continent at distressed levels.
One has to always remember debt on its own is not bad. It is bad when it goes for the wrong things and when it goes with the speed that the economy cannot handle. Again, it really depends on country circumstances. But are we worried about debt levels in Africa? Yes, because about 40% of countries have gotten to debt distress levels.
Debt levels of African governments have increased rapidly since 2009 as they took advantage of the need to provide higher returns as the world was awash with low global interest rates. Ghana, a nation in West Africa, is no exception. In 2007, we burst onto the scene with our maiden Eurobond issuance, and since then, we have become part of the system of international borrowers. Ghana's debt now stands at 208 billion cedis, with a share of commercial borrowing such as Eurobond issuances increasing. Remember that the days of access to concessional borrowing has thinned and commercial borrowing holds sway because we are said to have become a lower middle income country. This simply means Ghana is seen by development partners as one that can raise enough revenue to take care of its developmental needs. In all this, one important thing to note is that commercial creditors may not be forgiven as the multilateral and bilateral creditors, as we experienced with the HIPIC and other initiatives. As the Minister for Finance, Ken Ofori-Atta, prepares to go on a roadshow in January with the expectation to raise some $3 billion in Eurobonds, for us here at Joy Business, going with the numbers, we will say our authorities may need to work harder to ensure sustainability in our debt so we don't burden generations unborn.
That was Philip Namfori's report, and the gentleman joins me in studio right now for us to discuss further the issue of debt levels. Good afternoon to you, Philip.
Oh, thank you very much.
Okay, great. Philip, I want to find out from you, why should the debt levels keep increasing?
Okay, Norman, let me start from some background. So, you know, at some point we were at a low-income country, and when we rebased our GDP some time ago, we pushed ourselves up into lower middle income, or the middle income bracket, if you look at the World Bank's income classification for countries. So with lower middle income comes a reduction in ODA, official development assistance, and that reduction means that where we were getting some sort of concessionary borrowing from easy money, that easy money has shrunk. So now we have to fall on our tax revenue, or we have to borrow. And borrowing itself is not wrong. Everybody borrows. As a country with large developmental need, it's not everything that you can take from your tax on and tax revenues or from development partners, but you can borrow also. And in 2007, we burst onto the international capital markets, the ICM, with our first Eurobond issuance in 2007, $850 million. Since then, we've been going there and we've been borrowing. But with this reduction in with a reclassification from low income to lower middle income, what you were getting first, you can't get again in terms of what you can get from IMF, World Bank, African Development Bank. The concessional loans are still available, but the conditions attached to them are changing. So we're also looking elsewhere for quick money, and the quick money comes with the borrowing, so with the Eurobonds. So you see that since 2007, we've been going on to this international capital market, and we've been borrowing, and things have been going on. So the borrowing itself is not wrong. But when we take these loans, the debate is always as to how we are using it.
That's what you use the money for.
Use the money for. Some argue that we need to invest in projects that will pay for itself.
Yeah.
One example is the former Minister of Finance, Setekpe. He always argues that if we take debt and we put it in infrastructure projects that will pay for itself, there'll be no problem.
So they're looking at projects like the Airport Terminal 3 that we have. You're talking of the Bui Dam. You're talking of even the hydro, that is the Sino Hydro project that we are trying to borrow some 500 billion from the Chinese for.
Okay, so that's true. One example, the Terminal 3, for example, the African Development Bank played a role in financing it.
Exactly.
So that project in itself will, over time, pay for itself. Some also argue that we should invest in projects with high social returns. It's not always about projects that will pay for themselves. Let's invest in areas that will allow an enabling business environment so that over time the economy expands and then we can pay for stuff like that. So the debt has been growing. African nations generally, like my report said, and even today, there was a story on Bloomberg that just told us that because of the stance of major central banks around the world, they are going to remain dovish. Dovish in the sense that they're not going to raise rates anytime soon. They are going to keep rates on the low. Investors are looking for places where they can get high returns from. Yeah. And Africa has been doing well. And to surprise you to note that for this year, African bonds, African Euro bonds, returned an average of 20.07%, higher than all other areas in the world. We did better than Middle East, Latin America, emerging Asia, Eastern Europe, and even emerging markets broadly. So there is hunger for yield when it comes to Africa. And when we go out to sell our Euro bonds, people will invest. So I can say, yes, there is a supply in the market. We have the demand. We are going out there. But now we need to focus on when we go for these debts. Sometimes you hear the finance minister saying he needs to do liability management. So we take cheaper loans to pay off more expensive loans we took in the past.
Because Philip, I was coming to ask you the question of where we are being told that the two items that takes a chunk of our revenues is salary and interest payments.
Interest payments.
And so if you know that this is the challenge that you have, if you raise even 70 billion and then about 70% or 80% of that will be taken away by just these two items on your expenditure, lineup. And it meant that, you need to keep watching it. One will say, yes, you've got into the middle income status. Should you be seen borrowing more? You have expanded the base in terms of your economy, rebased it, let me put it that way. And so you have room to borrow more. But is that what we should be doing, or we should rather be looking at raising more revenues in terms of increasing taxes?
I think we should do the two at the same time. Let's fix the revenue challenges within house. Let's ensure that we can raise more revenue, because it's from within the revenue that we are servicing our debt. And even with the debt servicing that you quoted, it's more or less interest payments that we're doing first. And if you check the 2020 budget, we are going to budget about 21 billion Ghana cedis in debt servicing. That's a lot. That's a real drain on our finances. And these are loans we've taken already. They're already in the system. So we go for more. If we're going for more, then we should ensure that the more we're going for is going to areas that we know that in the next 3 to 5 years, this is going to pay for itself. But if we go and take loans and we're going to do recurrent expenditure or consumption, that's where the issue comes into place. So I think that's the main debate. Let's try and find a common bridge where in fact, we need to borrow, Northern. We have development needs, SDGs are coming up, etc. The borrowing is not wrong, but it's the use of the debt, the transparency around it, and stuff like that. That is what comes into play, and that's what we need to put at the back of our minds when we are borrowing as a nation.
Very final, before I let you go, if you were the finance minister, you put up a 2020 budget, and it's for the very first time. Normally we'll go on the market somewhere March, April, there around, but this time in January we're going on the market. I mean, what would you have done? And you're looking for 3 billion. Would you have gone to the market, or you rather want to look in-house?
No, the 3 billion looking in-house, we're already having challenges with high interest rates in the country. If government comes in, and already some see the government as crowding out the private sector. So if we're coming in looking for such funds in there, we can get to the $3 billion. If we multiply, that's a huge chunk. So we need to go out. But when we go out, the timing, as I discussed last week with some of my guests on PM Express Business, the first quarter, they believe is the best time because elections are approaching. Investors are wary. And this article I was reading mentions the fact that investors are looking at us as we enter election 2020. So we need to have these things at the back of our mind as we go for it.
Thank you very much, Philip Namfori. He put together the report on our debt levels. And then away from the coalition of agreed customers of Men's Gold says they are skeptical about the defunct gold dealership firm's payment schedule issued last week to pay back locked up investment, describing the plan as bleak. Men's Gold last week announced a schedule and a formula to pay customers from December 27th within a period of 3 years. Speaking at the press briefing, chairman of the aggrieved customers, Timothy Benab, demanded Men's Gold withdraws the current payment plan and pay all customers in full before the end of this year.
Namuan's modern payment plan that came out is a fallacy to us. It's untrue. We don't trust it. That payment plan has no timelines. If he says he's going to pay on 27th, when is he ending it? And when is he paying the rest of the customers? Namuan said he's going to pay us within 3 years. We have already spent 1 year in the house. When you add that 1 year to the 3 years, almost 5 years. It is very bad. It is wickedness. It is heartless. Do you understand? So we are not accepting the 3 years. We should review the payment plan. Every customer is a customer. If Namuan is paying, he should pay everyone at the first stance of the payment, 27th. That is what we expect from him. So he has refused to meet customers' leadership because he has already decided that he will bring anything at all for us. We are not children. Just that we didn't want to mind him. We have given him time because we know what business is. Now, we are fed up with him. For any reason, we'll make sure that we'll go after him for our money. Namuan is saying that he's paying from 28, a reverse mechanism. He's introducing a reverse mechanism, paying customers from 2018 to 2013. As Namuan, that I'm saying that he shouldn't be smarter than us. He shouldn't be smart than us. We are smarter than him.
Let's now do some aviation stories, and the Minister for Aviation, Kofi Adda, is objecting to the use of Kotoka International Airport's Green Park for the construction of regular high-rise concrete infrastructure. According to the Minister, the Green Park area should be maintained in line with International Civil Aviation Organization's call for more sustainable and environmentally friendly airports.
The International Civil Aviation Organization in recent times is pursuing wide-ranging targets and initiatives to contribute to the global push for environmentally sustainable development. This includes the development of green airports and the use of airport land for eco-friendly projects. It is on the back of this, the Minister for Aviation, Joseph Kofi Adda, insists the airport's green park should not be exploited for the construction of regular high-rise infrastructure, but maintained for environmentally friendly developments that will still generate revenue.
ICAO has insisted that civil aviation authorities and the airports should maintain environmental friendliness. And that is one big island of a green patch in this part of Accra. I guess one can safely say that we are perhaps in one of the fairly rich zones. Airport, residential area, cantonments, Laboni, East Legon, there's no real green park. No park where the kids can go to play, no park where you can have some social active functions. I think that's been my dream, to make sure that it's transformed into a park that will be accommodating and will also be refreshing from an environmental side as well as a recreational side, and money making for people as well. But not a site where people just come and put up buildings, concrete and steel structures, and block everything, and the wind will not be flowing.
The minister added expansions are also underway at the airport to make room for the anticipated growth in air traffic.
If you go up northern side of where we stand now, you'll find construction going on for the northern apron, which is what Ghana Airport Company has taken the lead to try and do. I think the numbers go between 8 to 14 aircraft, depending on the type of aircraft who will be able to park there. So we're already staying ahead. The International Civil Aviation Organization has predicted that there are about 24 airports in Africa, which within the next few years, we don't have enough space to accommodate aircraft. So Ghana is taking the lead on that. I think we're ready, and that's how we're going to encourage them to keep coming to Ghana.
For Joy Business, Sheila Tamaklo reporting.
And before we go, Christmas is just 2 days away, and there will be a lot of merrymaking. Merrymaking comes with a lot of eating and drinking. It is not out of place to find people grilling an assortment of red meat, chicken, and products alike. But what about fish? Is there enough noise made about it? Philip Namfori again throws the spotlight on fish consumption this festive season. Sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Hi there, it's Christmas again, and I'm sure you're getting ready to slaughter that chicken or that goat as you fill up your tummy this season. Have you ever wondered about our seafood consumption? And experts tell us, for example, fish cuts the risk to heart disease by about 40%. Regular consumption of fish cuts the risk of heart disease by about 40%. Well, in Ghana, we are told, or there's this conception, that seafood is quite expensive and relatively scarce. We want to explore that today. I'm here at Lojano, you're an SME into supply and sale of seafood products. We want to delve in and see if indeed seafood in Ghana is relatively scarce and expensive. So I want you to come along with me as we do so. So we're inside now, and we're here to speak to the CEO and co-founder of Lojano. Her name, Caroline Pomile. Caroline, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you too.
Okay, so first question. Why would you venture into sale and supply, or supply and sale of seafood products?
Okay, so one is the need to create market houses for our local fish farms. So we have a lot of fish coming from our shores right here in Ghana, but then we've grown this appetite for imported fish, imported chicken and all that. So our first drive was to create markets for our local fish farmers and fishermen.
Now, another issue that comes up is the affordability. People feel seafood is more expensive than our chicken, our beef, our chevron. Give us some insights into that.
Okay, so what I can say is like poor health is more expensive than healthy seafood. So octopus, for instance, goes for 35 cedis. We have tilapia. We have 30 cedis worth a kilo, and other kinds of seafood. Our seafood is actually very, very affordable. So yeah. So
all this myth surrounding seafood being expensive, because if you go to a restaurant, and let me use one restaurant in Ghana, it's in a hotel. Their buffets are more expensive on the nights they do seafood, and less expensive on the nights they do red meat and stuff like that. So where from this conception about the cost of seafood?
Okay, so most people import seafood, like I said earlier. So imported seafood actually costs more. See, and then our local. The thing with seafood also is that you don't have certainty of stock availability. So a fisherman can go today and then catch more of redfish, even though we have seasonalities for the different kinds of fish that could be captured. So that could be the cause. So there are lean seasons and then there are peak seasons for seafood as well. However, it still stands that seafood is very affordable with Lojano. So all you have to do is to contact Lojano and you can get your affordable seafood. And then we have a package this Christmas for anybody who wants to eat seafood. I think that chicken is enough. If you've been eating chicken all year round, it's time to treat yourself to some good seafood meal. So you have shrimps, you have lobsters, you have prawns, you have cassava fish, grouper, redfish, all kinds of fish from the sea, and all are right here from our local farms or fishermen, from the shores, from Tade, Sekendi, Tema. We have the shores with fresh food.
I want you to walk us through some of the stuff you have. You've mentioned some of them. Seeing is believing. So take us through what you have in here.
So we have crab. This is crab from Takrade. Then yes, we have soulfish as well. Fresh soulfish. Most of the time when you go to the kinky seller, they have this fish fried. It's very flat, very nice, very, very nice. Let me take it to the other
Okay. More seafood business. And what do we have here?
So this is a bigger size of soulfish. You see. Then we have prawns. We have prawns as well. Then we have crabs again. We have shrimps here. And we have you seen the fish sausage?
No.
So we have fish sausage.
Show me.
So I'll show you fish sausage soon. So this is cassava fish.
Okay.
So these are lobster. 50 cedis pack, 50 cedis pair, 50 cedis. We have a Christmas pack, bronya, 50 cedis. Then we have Afishiapa, 100 cedis. We have Afi, it's at 200 cedis pack. Then we have Efenao, it's 500. So this is grouper.
Okay.
This is grouper. And then this is cassava fish. Then these are prawns. This is red fish. Yes.
Interesting.
Soulfish.
What is the sausage?
So let me show you
Yes.
the sausage.
I'm quite interested in that one.
Of the fish sausage.
Oh.
The fish sausage made by one of our processors. So you remember earlier I said we create market houses for them. So we actually supply this a lady with the seafood, and then she makes sausage, the fish sausage out of it.
Oh.
So this is the fish sausage, and then we are creating markets for her.
So
again.
something like this, how much will it go?
That's just for 15 cedis.
Okay.
Fish sausage is only 15 cedis. You only fry it and eat it.
And eat it. That's all.
Yeah. So this is.
Okay. Some of the stuff you had in the freezer.
Yes,
okay.
Yes. So to take a look at.
I see. So this is lobster.
Yeah.
Big shrimp.
Yes, this is prawns. Actually.
Pork prawns, and this is shrimp.
Yes, then we have red
crab.
fish, we have the crab, we have the sole fish, then we have the grouper.
Okay.
I'm sure you saw the rest.
Yes, I did. So all these, like you said, quite affordable.
Yes, very, very
given
affordable.
the numbers. When I think about the chicken and then the stuff Karen Dodo in the office will be buying for Christmas, I see that you should come here and get some stuff. So, Caroline Pomeye, CEO, co-founder of Lojano, supply and sale of seafood, and she's taken us to just a bit of what she has to offer, particularly in this festive season. She wants you to come down here and enjoy some seafood and try and limit your chicken and then your stuff. Chicken, beef, too much. Fish is the deal for this Christmas. For me, for Lieutenant Furi, that's it on a seafood and a fishy note. Bye.
So from that fishy note, I would like to enjoy some lobsters this Christmas. This is how we end today's marketplace. My name is Norvan Akohifo. For more on our stories, visit myjoyonline.com. Have a very good afternoon.